Good morning, it's Nancy today. I had a thought. Yes, actually. It was about problems. Sometimes when you have problems and you pray about your problems, you expect your problems to go away. Sometimes. But actually, I don't think Heavenly Father takes our problems away as much as makes us strong enough to handle them. This is not really a good example, but it's an example that comes to my mind. Like weaving. If you're going to weave fabric, there's nothing you can do that will make it easier. Like make it less amount of time or less amount of things you have to do in order to weave a piece of fabric. But the Lord makes it easier because instead of wanting it to take less time, you enjoy the time it's taking. Does that make sense? People say to me things like, oh, you have to have so much patience to weave. But really, I just weave. My loom is there, and the warp is always in some state of, the loom is in some state of being dressed. Either it's got a few threads or lots of threads, or it's all threaded and now it's time to weave. But when I want to work at the loom, I just go spend a little time working at the loom. And so it doesn't matter that it takes a long time to weave, because I enjoy the process. There's many things like that. I just enjoy the process. Even my gardening, transplanting plants, it takes a lot of work to maintain a garden with lots of flowers, but I just enjoy spending some time in the garden. Many of you are probably like that. And although that's really not problems, and wishing that your problems would go away, but in some way it's similar, because a problem fills your life. And sometimes we wish it would go away, and that there would be relief from the suffering, or that life would be easier, or that we would have more of the things we need, or the finances needed to cover the demands of life. But praying about these things, sometimes you think that the Lord doesn't answer your prayers because He didn't take the problem away. He didn't restore life, or, prolong life for somebody, or He didn't take away your arthritis, or you didn't get a big check in the mail to cover the bills. So you think that your prayers have not been answered, but sometimes what the Lord's answer is strengthening us so that it's not so bad. Like, for instance, when you don't have enough money, sometimes the Lord inspires us with ideas on how to stretch what we have, or how to change our lifestyle so that we don't need those things that we needed before. So just because your prayers have not been answered in the way that you think they should be answered, or you expected them to be answered, or you were taught that the answers come, doesn't mean that He's not very aware of you. He knows your name, He knows your situation, and He loves you. And when a baby is learning to walk, it takes a long time. And there's a lot of falling down and banging their head on the coffee table or whatever. A lot of tears. But the Lord doesn't bless the baby that they can suddenly walk, because it's in the trying that they develop the muscles, and they develop the skills needed, and the knowledge of how to do it. And their body gets used to what muscles need to be used in order to have this work. So I know there are many people suffering. In fact, probably more people who are suffering turn to the internet and spend time watching videos or something like that because they're in pain and they can't get up and move around. Or because sometimes life really gets you down. And I find that when I'm down, when life really gets me down, I just have to sit and vegetate for a while. Take my mind off of things so that I can have them in perspective. So I suppose there's a lot of you out there that are in some sort of pain or difficulty. But be aware that the Lord knows you're there, and He loves you, and He hears your prayers. And just because you don't feel His arms around you, or find that your life gets easier after you pray, don't despair. Was there anything else I needed to say before I say goodbye? I know these things from experience. I have had different experiences that I wish that would end or would not be there. Now, there are some things in our lives that we can change. If you're in a situation where you're being abused, you don't have to stay there. That's not the Lord's will that you remain and tough it out. There are some things that are important for you to take care of, to change things. Just like if you're cooking at the stove and your arm keeps getting burned, it's important that you take your arm off the burner. So there are some situations where you need to make changes. If, for instance, if your child was playing with somebody that was very mean to them, that was always hurting them or making them feel badly about themselves, what would you do? Would you intervene and say, okay, I think that you should not play with that child anymore? And sometimes we have to be the parent to ourselves when we're grown up. And if you're in a situation where somebody is being unkind to you, you have to stand up for yourself and say, that's it, I'm removing myself from this person's influence. It's very important that you take care of yourself and watch over yourself, because sometimes you're the only person that can do it. And everybody else does not necessarily have somebody that helps them. We all have to watch over ourselves and help ourselves with the choices that we've made, and the choices that we've made that are not good for us. That we need to have the courage and the strength and the wisdom to take ourselves out of situations that are unhealthy for us. And that sometimes prayer is how do they say it? You pray as if everything depends on the Lord, but you work as if everything depends on yourself. And together, you make a good team. Alright, so head out there and face the day, and smile, make other people smile. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.